NHD, the world's leader in natural hazard disclosure reports. David, come on down and talk to us how we can order our press NHD report.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rick. Nice to see you. I know that you've heard this before in other offices where we've been pitching it. It's a seller's protection policy that is offered through Chris. When you get a listing, what you want to do is order your NHD report. Order an NHD report from Chris. It's basically the NHD report from us. It's only $74.95. We partnered with Chris, and when you order the report, it's good. It's effective at the close of escrow. It's good for 6 months. It can always be renewed, but it can be stacked on top of your current home warranty policy, which is, I think, $50,000, something like that. This is another $25,000 protection for the seller. And it gives the buyer an easy pathway to settle a claim if there is one. It also gives you a competitive edge during your listing presentation when you're talking to the seller that you're going to be, when they order this NHD report, getting additional coverage. So that's important too. Another item I want to discuss, it's called My Likely Movers. You can go online, you can check them out. It's not a moving company. What it is, it's a company that when you give them your database, 500, 1,000, whatever it is, and there's a small fee involved. That database goes in, AI somehow brings back any people, any homeowners that might be moving within the next year due to either a death or divorce. So it's additional information for you. It's called mylikelymovers.com. We only have 7 days in the week. And what I'll leave you with is this thought that tomorrow is not a day of the week. So I want to also say that there is no problem until there is a problem. So I want to say avoid problems, avoid risk. Choose wisely. Thanks for choosing that property ID. That's what I worked with for 12 years. Thanks for choosing my NHD.
Open mouth and surrounding.
70 shades of red. But choose wisely. And again, when you get your listing, order the report, the Chris NHD. You can call the 800 number that's on the card. Make sure you order that. And it's the listing agent that orders it, not the buyer's agent. So keep that in mind. And I thank you for your support.
Years, right? Always been like 75 rounds.
Yeah, not bad. Okay, awesome. Oh, here we go. Broken reservations on me. Yeah.
Yeah, I was waiting to see what you were doing to my picture. Rich. So. Yeah, you brought up what else was it? I'll give a quick update, you know, about the lawsuits that's going on now. That AW is one of the defendants. The defendants are presenting their case now. They thought it was going to be a 3-week trial. I don't know that necessarily that it will go to 3 weeks because they seem to be moving pretty quick. But this is the lawsuit where it's a class action. Buyers are saying they're paying too much for money because commissions are stacked up against them because the seller has to pay their commission. So the seller is inflating the price because of that. Here's what I'll say, very important. Commissions are negotiable. There is nothing standard in commissions. We don't offer a standard. It's standard that you pay this amount. It's standard that you're not even. It's negotiable. It's like it's a fine line, and that's the problem that the DOJ has, and that's the problem that with these lawsuits is that it's being communicated wrongly, And that's why these lawsuits are happening. No matter what the outcome of this lawsuit is, there will be appeals for years and years and years. We're not gonna see really a you know, a result. But we need to change the way we're doing business. Because what's coming out of it, to the defendants, I don't know if I mentioned this in this meeting, I get confused with all my meetings. But to the did I? About Remax and Anywhere. Anywhere is Coldwell Banker and all those guys. They have a settlement on the table of this lawsuit where they're not forcing their agents to be realtors. And I just got, I was talking to our president-elect today that he wanted to put somebody on a committee next year. And they were from Coldwell Banker and he couldn't because Coldwell Banker is going MLS only. So they're not going to be realtors. The same with some, it's not all offices, I don't even know what office this was, but that's part of the settlement. Also Remax, part of the settlement, not forcing their agents to be realtors. And also not forcing their agents to offer commissions to the buyer's agent. So look at what's in the MLS. Look at the cooperating broker compensation. Look at it because it may be zero. And so you need to get your commission from somewhere else. So tomorrow I'm teaching buyer broker agreements. Be there. I've already done it, but I'm doing it again because it's so timely. The other thing that I wanted to go over is that Governor Newsom signed a whole buttload of bills. I mean, this is a quarter of the pages. So I pulled a few out for now, and I'll go over them in the weeks to come. How apropos, NHD reports. It updates the state homeowners, no, this isn't about NHD. Updates the state homeowners guide to environmental hazards booklet to add, as the resources permit, 3 new chapters. That means it's going to be longer. One on wildfires, one on climate change, and one on sea level rise. So that will go in effect on January 1st. You're going to see a new homeowners guide to environmental hazards booklet. Also signed into law, flippers of residential 1 to 4 units must disclose recent repairs and renovations to the property in addition to all other existing disclosures. The properties that are resold within 18 months of closing. So standard TDS categories, it applies if the transaction is residential 1 to 4. Seller accepts an offer within 18 months of the date that the title transferred. Renovations or repairs were performed by a contractor with whom the seller entered into a contract. Requires the seller to disclose to the buyer any room additions, structural modifications, other alterations, repairs, a copy of any permits obtained, or if the seller contracted with a third party and was not provided with a copy of any permits. These disclosures may additionally, there's a cost of labor, if the cost of labor and materials is $500 or greater, this is something that nobody really gets, but if it costs $500 or greater, the seller will disclose the name of the contractor and the contact information of each contractor. You know that anything $500 or greater requires a permit, no matter what it is. But nobody gets it, So when does this law go into effect? It goes into effect July 1st of 2024. So, but just keep in mind that this is out here. Now, NHD reports. There is a law that expands the disclosures required by natural hazard disclosure statement to include high as well as very high hazard severity zones by explicitly highlighting 3 new subcategories of fire hazard zones. If the property is located in any of these zones, the defensible space and or properties built before 2010, fire hardening disclosures would then be required. And what are the three subcategories? I talk about this when I teach this, the fire hardening thing. It may show that it's not in a state high or very high fire hazard zone, but it could be in a county and it could be in a local. So now they're making it clearer on the NHD reports. If it is in a county, if it is in a state, if it is in a county, if it is in a local. So it's going to be clearer as to when you need the fire hardening form, and that goes into effect January 1st. This is a new one that's going to be very controversial. AB 1033 allows local agencies to adopt ordinances to allow the separate conveyance of an ADU from the primary residence as a condominium. So they are creating their own subdivision on a property. Literally what's happening there. And it becomes a condo. What does that also entail? It also entails you gotta get an HOA association. You gotta get, that all has to happen. But this is allowing the local, municipalities to adopt this local.
Do they make money off that?
Does who make money off of it?
I was just thinking taxes. Something.
Well, yeah, transfer tax, they're making money off of it.
Is that the only way is that the only way it's gonna create it?
Well, I mean, the state is giving the excuse that, we need to create more housing. Oh, sorry, to create more housing, and this might create more housing because it's now being conveyed. There are limitations, if there's a lien holder on in the original property, the lien holder has to agree. And all lien holders have to agree. It requires the owner of the property that is within an existing homeowners association to receive written authorization from the association before they can record the condominium. And that the ADU is established as a condominium with separate utilities and all that stuff. So this is the law that is allowing local municipalities to enact.
So,
My guess is that LA will.
so is the title report gonna show that it's a single family residence with a condo?
Well, no, the title report will show 2 different properties because now it's been parceled out. It's a subdivision. It's 2 different properties that each can be conveyed. Well, yeah, it's in essence a lot split. Yeah. It's in essence a lot split. And that goes into effect January 1st. Now, what goes into effect is the local municipalities to do this. Now, whether they jump on it or not, we'll see. Also with ADU makes permanent the existing prohibition on local government's abilities to require owner occupied on a parcel containing an accessory dwelling unit. What that means is SB 986 would remove the sunrise provision of AB 881, which said that one of the properties had to be owner occupied, and thus remove the ability for local governments to require owner occupancy of either unit beginning January 1st, 2025. So that means beginning January 1st, 2025, both units can be rented out on the property. There doesn't have to be an owner occupancy on the property. And that rental would have to be 30 days or more. You can't do short now. And that's, that's all this, I will to be continued in weeks, because I could be here all day. Yes, go ahead, yes.
Is there anything on the horizon that they're talking about changing HOA restrictions on rentals, changing the numbers? I'm hearing-
Changing the
There's
numbers,
a percentage that they have right now.
they already did change that.
I know, but they changed it to what, 25%?
Right.
But I'm hearing a lot, especially in Westlake, about people getting lost, striking up lawsuits saying it's not, their rights.
I don't think that there's plans to change it from what they've already changed.
Okay.
No.
I thought the number would be moving up.
Mm,
Okay.
okay.
Hey, Richard, question?
Yeah.
Is it true that our beloved governor also signed into law regarding security deposits starting next year?
Yes, that will start. It starts July,
11.
I believe July of 2024, that it's only 1 month. It's in the rest of this pile, so I will bring it up. But yes, that does go into effect, and I think that the landlord will have to refund if they're holding more than that. They'll have to refund. But I'll get more on that.
What was the question?
About the signing into, the governor signed it that you can only get 1 month's security deposit. But there's restrictions on that. It depends on how big of a land, how many properties you own. That's why I don't want to really, it's not really a blanket thing. It depends on how many properties you're renting out. I think it's more for those who I think it's like 4 or more. I think that's what it is.
No more than 2.
Is it 2?
Total 4 units, 2 properties, 4 units.
2 properties, 4 units. Okay, there you go. Alright, so I knew there was a 4 in there somewhere. But I'll get, one of these weeks, I'm gonna be adding to this and, so, any other questions?
Any news on airline starting?
On what starting?
Airline?
Oh, I don't know.
That's an
I
awesome.
don't
That's
know.
not this conversation.
Yeah, alright. Anyways, enjoy me tomorrow, 4 o'clock, my class, I'm biobroker.
All right, awesome. And you all should be on that. Thank you, guys. Okay, so we have Lisa. So she's gonna share for a couple minutes her amazing client appreciation gift type thing, and then we'll get right into our creative financing and then Chili. All right, come on down, Lisa.
Hi, guys. Can I be right here? Is this okay?
Yeah.
Instead of cutting out? Okay. Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me. Roger, thanks for inviting me. So my name is Lisa Heiser, and I am with a new company. It's lifestyle and wellness. It's called Human Grace. And we specialize in products that promote hormone health. You guys might be saying hormones remind me of teenagers and pregnant ladies and whatnot, but in fact, everybody has hormones. They affect our health, and our world unfortunately has tons of hormone disruptors all around. I think cleaning products for your home is a really big culprit. Okay, so we have designed a product that I think makes a really great customer closing gift. Hormone health is a trending thing. You're going to be hearing about it a lot more. So I think you would be very, in the know to give your customer something that is really good for them. So this is a cleaning set. It is non-toxic, plant-based. It's cruelty-free, kid and pet friendly, high performing. It smells great and it's reusable. So I'm just going to show you guys. It comes in a set. The set retails for $60. And it is earth friendly because it comes in these really beautiful amber glass bottles, non-stick bottom. So you get a multi-purpose cleaner bottle and you get a deep cleaner. And then this is the magic. This is the concentrate. And basically they follow along and add 1 part for a multi-purpose, 2 part. I'll pass this around so you guys can smell it. It smells really nice. And again, I feel like I should have expected that.
We learned quick.
Yes. So I know when I clean things like my bathtub before I using other products, I would think, okay, I just cleaned my bathtub and now I know I'm not going to get all this residue of chemicals out, and then I'm going to sit and soak in it, so not great, or cleaning your microwave or your refrigerator. This kind of thing, or your pets jumping on your countertop or somewhere afterwards, and you know, my cat loves to be around me, so this is totally safe for that. And again, just I feel like a really practical gift, but really elevated. When I got these boxes, I was so excited to dive into my cleaners, and that's kind of saying a lot. So I'm gonna leave you guys with some info.
What do you use it on? What do you put it in?
Everything. So I'm gonna leave you with some cards. It can be used kitchen, like think multi-purpose is like kitchen, countertops, safe for granite, marble, everything. Deep cleaner, germier spots, like your bathrooms, or like really grease heavy. If you've got like, my son loves to cook and makes a disaster of my kitchen. Cuts through grease, literally leaves your tub, your sink, your counters sparkling clean, and then leaves behind that amazing fresh scent. So, oh, thank you, my assistant taking that around.
They're not closed?
You know, you can split, people use the deep cleaner to use on fabrics to get grease. Yes, they do. So I'm gonna leave you guys with these cards, which also would be great to keep, you know, to put it in a little basket for the gift. This gives you all the ingredients and it gives you all of the ways to use it. So I will leave some of these here as well. And then my flyer has my QR code and a $10 off referral code as well for your first order. If you need help, want me to order for you, want me to even create a basket for you, I'm game for any of that. So I'll leave this information up here. And thank you guys for your time. Yeah. You can't put it on the product itself. No. But we could come up with something maybe with like these cards that I have made. You could do something with that. So yeah, I'm gonna have a conversation with you now. I'll leave that there. Awesome. Thank you.
We appreciate you coming. Thank you, Roger, for the referral. Okay, so creative financing. We talked, you know, obviously Cindy and Bill were here last week and the last meeting and talked about the new program that they have there. So we just trying to help our buyers get into a place, right? So without further ado, let's bring Cindy and Bill at House American Financial and Scott Edwards with PRMG. Come on down. All right, awesome. Okay, so we'll give them an opportunity.
Nice to meet you.
And he's the doctor.
I think you
They're the mortgage doctor. So Steve Stack has been using Scott for a long time. So Scott, let's go ahead and start with you. I know and just really share what opportunities that you have at PRMG for I do want to say something because we always want to make sure that we have amazing lenders right in our back pocket, right? Because everyone has their niches, they have their specialties and so on and so forth, and we just want to be able to have a okay, go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, so my name is Scott Edwards. I'm Scott the Mortgage Doc. And before I jump into programs, I figured it might be nice to know who I am at least a little bit. So it's nice to see some familiar faces. It's good to see Jamie. I haven't seen Jamie forever. So and Steve, Sean, and anyway, it's nice to be here. I'm honored to be here. So my name is Scott Edwards. I grew up in Santa Clarita. My wife and I are foster parents of 3 wonderful kids, and we love fostering kids. And but that's me. I've been doing this since 2002, so I've been doing it a little while. So, but that's me. So a little quick thing on that. I wrote down some notes here. Let's see. I mean, product wise, I mean, we have it all. I mean, we do bank statement loans. I've got a loan right now where you got a veterinarian, right? He gets paid 1099, right? So we got a 1099 program for that guy, right? He was denied by 2 other lenders and came to us, and now he's buying a $2 million house, right? So because he has the income, just doesn't have it on his tax returns.
What's the rate on that?
The rate on that's gonna be like 9.25%.
It's a little bit higher.
Yeah, it's gonna be higher for sure. Yeah. So any of these types of creative financing, just to be frank, it's going to fall into a higher rate category. I tell clients when I'm sitting with them, like the reality is the loan we get you, I call a bridge loan. It's your band-aid to solving a problem today until we can get you into a standard type financing loan, which requires tax returns, which means we sit down and we go over the tax returns. I review them with the client, right? So obviously I'm not a CPA, but I can at least give some insight. Maybe we don't write off all of that, or maybe move some of those numbers over there, right? So those are some of the insights we can give our clients so that we can get them into a standard type financing loan, because that's going to get you your best rate. almost every time.
So you
So-
wanna talk to like the small business owner maybe a year prior to prepare them for next year to buy?
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely. So I love self-employed clients. Those are my jam. I love them just because they're in a position where they're told they can't buy typically, or their tax returns, and then they don't have the guidance. So the loan officer may not be able to have that guidance to give them the perspective of how to get them out of that. Right. So
Like Scott's increased income on tax returns, like he'll look at the way CPA's done your taxes.
Yeah.
And he says, hey, you have these write-offs, if you just move them to this line, it's the same exact thing, but I can add that income back in and increase your income. But like.
So let's just clarify, I give suggestions, all right, so, I give. No wonder Rich has got a cancer here. So I was a great guy. Here's the thing, like, the job of a CPA is very simple. They want to write off everything, so they pay as little taxes as possible, right?
And then
Great.
look where they put it.
Right, so my job is I give the income perspective. I give the insight of how we would look at it from an income, right? So I say, hey, you move it here, right? It's a deduction. You move it into depreciation, amortization, casualty loss, right? Depletion. Those are add backs, but they're a deduction for the CPA. Now, I still always say, go back to your CPA, see if it falls into that category. I'm not a licensed CPA at all. I can just give some insight of what they may be able to do there, other than not writing off a ton.
Question? You guys do any fix and flip loans?
So I'm a huge fix and flip guy. So when he was talking about the fix and flip scenario, I found it very interesting. So I gotta talk to my investors. Because yeah, I mean it's a field that I love. I mean, honestly, they're best clients because they buy all the time. And they list and then they sell and they buy. So investor clients are great. I got into DSCR when it was just coming out a few years ago, and so I'm a huge DSCR fan, which terminology may not know what that means.
Debt service coverage ratios.
Very simple. If you do commercial, to understand commercial, right? It's very simple. Commercial property, it's about renting itself, right? They took that same premise and put it in residential financing. So they take that idea of like, okay, does the rents cover the mortgage, right? And that's how they apply it with DSCR. So, I will say one last thing. Two wonderful people speak. The big thing that you're going to see right now is the 5% down on conventional financing for the 2 to 4 units. Probably see post on it and stuff like that. One thing that isn't explained in any of that stuff, because it's great stuff. Don't get me wrong, great product, very excited, right? But in the fine print, you have to have investor experience to be able to offset that mortgage with those rents. So it's not as exciting as it's not a first-time homebuyer hack, because you can't really leverage that. So, and if Frank, find a house that you could buy or 4 unit in LA for conventional financing. Good luck. So, Bakersfield maybe, but
Sounds cool.
sounds cool. But practically, I don't know how it's going to work for us. But that's me.
Well, I think it's pretty fitting that he dressed as a doctor because that's really what we want.
Exactly, Shell.
Doctors were advisors. I got the doctor is in poster up.
I
on
love
my
it.
desk.
I love it.
And if you ever wondered if you're trying to, I'm just saying.
I love it.
But, I think the thing now is, you really have to find somebody who's got it all. And who knows how to be creative and who knows how to look under every rock. And that's the person you want to work with. Because it's just, there's nothing easy or obvious right now. You know, the easy and obvious don't work, so you have to dig deeper. So, I love the program that Bill, let you guys know about last week. It's a great conversation starter. It's a great way to get people interested in talking to us. And that's the 100% financing, no mortgage insurance loan. It's
Wow,
really
very
a great product. But anything 100% financing is tough to qualify for because your payments are higher now. So, but it's still, it gets in the door and that's what's important. And by the way, PS, I can do co-branded flyers for anybody who wants it. So just request and I will be happy to do it. Other than that, I think a couple of good examples that I can give is, I had somebody who wanted to get pre-approved. He wanted to buy a house for 800,000. He had 150,000 cash. And he is a therapist who gets W-2 and he's self-employed. Well, I was hoping his, W-2 was gonna be enough, but it wasn't. So then I had to look at his self-employed income. And on that, it wasn't enough when you look at full docs. So I thought, well, let me see what the bank statements look like. So the bank statement program rate is very comparable right now. It's really quite good. So I was able to find a bank statement program that was really close. And I spelled out for him A to Z, you know, here's what you need and here's what the pricing is, here's what your mortgage payment is, here's what your cash to close is for both bank statement and full doc programs. And just as is and with paying off his car. So he got a full picture of what he can do now, how he can, you know, possibly, you know, what's more important to him, a lower payment or less cash in, you know, he's really fully aware now of what he can do, and the agent is fully aware, you know, I couldn't quite get him that 800,000, I got him a little bit less, but and he was ready to say, well, I guess I should just save more money or, you know, whatever, and I said, no, don't do that, you know, that you've got the ability to buy something now, stay active in the market, keep looking, you never know, things change all the time. Let me tell your agent about it, and let them be, at least be on the lookout for a property that fits the bill. And he said, okay, great, you know, so that sort of changed it. But I also want to say what works really, really great for us is that Bill is in our home office, and he works with a bunch of lenders, including me. And whenever a scenario comes up, and every one of them is tough, every one of them is challenging, and I have to look at something different. All I got to do is go to Bill and say, who's got the best bank statement programs right now? Or who's, you know, I got this scenario, what do you suggest? And he's been working with all of us, and he works with all the AEs, and he knows exactly where to hone in on some ideas that may not have leapt into my mind right away. Did you have any examples?
Well, again, I do know Scott, and I know the team that these guys have, we've all kind of, you know, worked side by side in the marketplace. At least for the last 20 years. Yeah. And my background goes back to Countrywide. We were at the time, the largest retail production branch in all of, you know, California, not the, you know, the country. And we were based out of Glendale. And that same group, that core group actually was with Skyline, didn't make it to Finance of America, and then ended up being an independent mortgage shop. So we're actually a hybrid shop. So when I say hybrid, if we want to, you know, we're an independent mortgage banker, so all of our agency, jumbo, we can, you know, underwrite it all in-house. And then we have an investor list, and over the last almost 4 years now, if you count the COVID year, about 30 to 40% of the business has moved into the non-QM space. So you have to look at all of the investors that are in that space, and some of them you may know, Axos, AmWest, a lot of these investors we've actually added to our list so that we can get best price, best execution. And in Cindy's case, when she's talking about layered income, some bank statement programs are simply bank statement. You can't layer the W-2 income on it, or the IHSS income, or Social Security, or any other, you know, various forms. So we've actually, you know, developed a list of investors that specific to this scenario that you guys bring in, we can kind of place that loan in different places. So that's where the hybrid goes, because I can go wholesale and bring that to a number of different investors. We actually have a pricing engine. I'm sure you're familiar with Loan Sifter. I can actually go on the Loan Sifter, see who's got best price, and then knowing who we've worked with, we can go best price, best execution. Who can get that deal done in 20 days or less, because it's generally a fallout when we're getting, if that makes sense. The other thing that I have found very unique is a lot of these investors, especially during COVID, 2020 and 2021, a lot of these guys pulled back. So at one point, Axos said, we're not going to fund any loans anymore. So where do you go? And how do you find that alternate to Axos that can actually do this highly complex transaction? And when I say highly complex right now, the people that are buying 4 units and investment properties and second homes in Malibu that I'll talk about, you know, in a minute, these are pretty well-to-do clients. They have a very complex structure to them. Their statement of information reads like a library. So you have to really dig in and find out, okay, well, we're going to do this. I'll give you this Malibu property example. It was either August or September. I don't remember when we funded it, but MLS player, okay? is one of the LA Football Club kind of player. Owns a free and clear property in Beverly Hills, wants to buy a second home in Malibu for $8 million. We were able to do a cross collateralization loan, not a single dollar out of his pocket, and closed on that purchase in Malibu. Okay, and so those are the types of things that you're starting to see now, where money's kind of not an object, for that buyer, right? The rate really isn't an object for them. So with rates in the agency now hitting, literally 8%, selling a 9% non-QM loan is really not that far away. Now, 3 years ago, that was hard money, rates, but not today. So I would say when you're looking at the really motivated buyer, there is a loan for them. And just like Scott said, it's probably a bridge loan, because as soon as they can qualify for, traditional financing or get into a jumbo loan with full docs, we'll put them back into that loan. So, I don't know if you have any questions or, any commentary. I'd love to hear from you guys. If you want more examples, our branch has quite a few very unique programs that we've done.
I do have one other creative idea that I want to throw out, and this is appropriate to both the list side and the sell side, or buy side rather. Is don't forget that there is a huge population out there who owns their homes free and clear. So if you are in a transaction or about to make an offer or whatever, and you know that the house is free and clear, don't forget to consider seller financing, because sellers might be interested in getting that monthly income.
8% return, I think.
Well, and they might be willing to take less, who knows? Because I think the general population seems to feel like 5 to 6% is a reasonable return, so who knows? But just don't forget to look.
You guys do fix and flip also?
Yes, we have several investors that will do it.
How does it work exactly?
So typically, when you do a fix and flip, you're going to have 30% after remodel value. So they're going to look at the entire. So let's say you buy an $800,000 house.
Right.
You're going to fix and flip it. It's going to net out at like $2 million. I'm just going to make an example. Okay, they're going to lend up to 70% of the after remodel value.
Oh, I see.
Okay, but you're going to have some equity position in the beginning, whether you own the land or you're putting 20% down or whatever it is, and then you're going to do phased payouts based on the work that you've completed, just like a one-time close construction loan that was a traditional financing. So typically, the AE, the account executive from the fix and flip investor, walks you through it. And if you're a first-time buyer, you'll actually have, or you're a first-time flipper, I should say, you're going to have, a little bit more restrictions in terms of how much they'll lend you. But if you've done it multiple times, I mean, these guys are smooth, they're fast, they'll get you the money quick. There's one right here in Westlake that we work with. I mean, Civic, they've done it. I don't know if you guys have worked with them in the past. You probably know Bill Tesser.
We do, and I don't think they're around anymore.
Yeah, and they've respawned. They've respawned. Yes, that's right.
But yes.
Alan with them?
Huh?
Is Alan with them?
Alan?
Barak?
I don't know.
He's with us.
I don't know.
No,
I think he's with PRG.
Yeah.
PRMG.
PRG. Yeah. But no, I will just say that, it's an honor to stand next to these two wonderful people. If you're in this business and you're in it now, you're probably pretty damn good at it, because this business is not easy. Especially on the lending side, obviously on the real estate side as well, but the lending side it's an honor to stand here with both of you because this business is not easy. I will say, I just have one other thing. So I did, you guys know what Bold is? I saw you guys. So I did Bold just recently with Cody Gibson up at the KW office next to ours. And one of the things Cody, yeah, he's awesome. He's very good. He was very cool. Yeah, he really is. He was very cool. But I wanted to touch on the NAR lawsuit, right? So I don't want to get into the details of it, but what he did say, which I found very interesting, is that how important relationships are going to be whenever that finalizes and all the changes come around, how important having realtor relationships are going to be, and how poised KW is because of the culture you guys have created, right? With being in relationship with each other. So when you're talking about listings and buyers, agents, fees, and all these kind of things, it's going to be so important to have those relationships. So I always find it interesting when a realtor goes, oh, I don't need to go to those realtor things. I don't need to be an SRAR. I don't need to go to that stuff. I'm good on my own. I think they're gonna find themselves in a hurt when things start coming around. They really have to start negotiating and being in a relationship with realtors. So I just want to emphasize what Cody said, because I thought it was very interesting, because this NAR lawsuit is gonna be interesting to see what happens after all of this. So,
A very good point, Scott. Now, I'll bring up, something that you guys have started to see, but maybe not. I did work at the big banks, and I do have some experience there as well. All of them have pulled back on their rates, pulled back on their guidelines. You've seen Logix, the credit unions, they're having, financial issues, just trying to make sure that they have the equity to kind of sustain. This market is different because not only is it gone up so fast, but it's lasted quite a bit. It's a long time. People have depleted their savings, I don't know if you guys saw the Bill Ackman, the billionaire Bill Ackman came out yesterday and he pulled all of his short positions out of the bond market, thinking that we might have actually hit the top of market interest rates. We don't know, but you will see this has been a sustained run. There's been 100,000 loan officers that have exited the business. So there's just not that many around. The deals that we see, I'm sure you've seen as well, they're always a fallout deal. 1 out of 2 deals, they can't do it at the bank. They won't do it at the bank. They thought they were getting a Citibank perfect, interest rate, and now they're over here and we're telling them the interest rate's 1, 2, 3% higher, so we're trying to level set in this market, but those that are surviving are doing very well, and I'm actually very bullish, because whether you think it's the beginning of a cycle or an end of a cycle, I think we've already hit that peak. I think we're not falling down the other side of it yet, but I do think there's a lot of positivity, that's really out there right now.
If you're gonna rub your lamp, so to speak, you think rates are gonna be 1.5 lower in a year from now?
well, Gary Keller would say you're gonna see 10%. So, but I have no idea. I would love to see rates go down,
Let's
honestly.
talk about rates, right?
Yeah.
And we've had this discussion, I think, last week or the week before. Okay, in a traditional market, you take the 10-year treasury and you mark it up by 150 basis points. So what's the 10-year treasury today? 5 and change, right? So if in a traditional market, at 5 and change, 1.5, rates should be high 6s, low 7s. Okay, where are they at actually? They're 300% above. Why is that? There's like several factors. One, the government, the treasury is not buying mortgage-backed securities. So you have free market dictating what is actually happening. 2, the economy, inflation, everything's basically unstable. 3, now we have a war, we're involved in now. And so things are very unstable. But if things do, and the MBA right now, Mortgage Bankers Association, is basically lobbying to say, listen, Treasury, why don't you just step in here for a bit? Okay, why don't you start buying some of these mortgage-backed securities? You don't have to stop at, your interest rate. You could see a 0.5% or a full percent, or even 150 basis point swing back towards, the interest rate. So I do see something like that coming, and it always happens in what year? Election year. So we're gonna see something. Now,
we're already talking about a 6.5% increase in housing prices next year.
right. But so we all anticipate something, but learning to live with 8% rates and buy downs and seller concessions, and how do we get these people into houses, and how do we get people to list their house? Right? Nobody wants to move either. So it's been a stalemate for a while. I don't have that lamp, but I do think next year we're going to see some type of reprieve. Whether it's a big enough or small enough, we don't know.
And I love all of that, and I hope that happens.
I'm the optimist.
I love it.
I'm the optimist.
I love it. I'm totally fine with
I
that.
know a lot of realtors that are telling all their clients, buy now, it's the perfect time to buy because rates are gonna come down and you just refinance it in a year or 2.
So
buy it.
Rates come down as if the market crashes. It's crazy.
So Renee Rodriguez, anybody know who that is? Everybody know? So Renee Rodriguez, I've seen him speak multiple times. One of the things he said, it was with a group of realtors. He said, the question that you get asked is it a good time to buy? Right? And it's actually a 2-part answer. Right? There's 2 questions in that question. So is it a good time to buy? You just said projections are 6.5% appreciation.
Yeah,
right.
Right.
Simply put, because we have a very basic economic supply and demand issue. Right. So low supply, but high demand. Right. So but the second piece of that question is it a good time to finance? The answer is no. It's a shitty time to finance. Everyone wants a 9% interest rate. But the reality is that you can refinance that loan. So I get what the agents are saying, but they maybe articulate it a little differently, so
Yeah, they're trying to get business.
I get it, but I mean, be honest about the reality is rates suck, there's no question, nobody wants a 9% interest rate, I mean, when we were talking about 3s and 2s just a few years ago, so. But the reality is you can refinance that rate, so, and that's the benefit
The
of
other
that.
big question is, can you afford to not buy now? If
Agreed.
you can
Yeah.
qualify to buy now, you should buy now.
Absolutely.
Because you will get nothing but strength over time
Agreed.
and the ability to lower your payment eventually in one way or another.
Well, if the market goes up 6.5% for the next 2 years, that $1 million home is gonna go up to $1,062,000 the first year and $1,120,000 the second year. If your interest rate, if you lower your interest rate
Absolutely.
a year and a half or 2 years later, you're saving yourself $1,000 a month.
You can never go back and buy something for cheaper, right? I mean, you can't go back in time, right? Once you bought it for this price and, or you didn't buy it for this price, you wait 2 years, you bought it for more and you're paying back more, right? So if you can buy it now and then the projections are, appreciations are gonna go, it makes sense to buy now.
Everybody wishes they didn't wait and they bought a year ago
Yeah,
or
that's
2
good.
years ago. But they did wait and now they're, wishing they didn't. And if they wait now, they're gonna feel the same way in a year or two from now.
Keep saying, oh, they're gonna go down. The market's gonna drop, it's gonna crash.
Best time to buy was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, well, missed it.
Start over.
Any other questions?
Yeah, any questions?
Back.
Yes,
I'll
Philip.
be clear.
Great information, thank you guys. Can you possibly quickly explain how an ARM might be better than a rate buy down? And then a quick example of the cross collateralization.
Yeah, I mean, I can jump
Pick
on the
the
arm.
arm.
Yeah, I mean, the
Pick the
arm
arm.
situation, arms suck. I mean, unless you're like with a credit union or a
Is it
bank or
better
something like
than a
that.
buy down?
I mean, if you can find pricing on an arm that's attractive, I mean, there's probably a handful out there, probably
This is
still
a
pricing.
Buy down, it's only for a certain.
Correct. I mean, like Logix was the big play in the game with the 5, whatever, 5. They had a low rate on their arms and it was great. Now they don't have that product anymore. So I mean, arms are tough to find that are attractive right now. I mean, I do have like some jumbo financing where you can do a 10-year fix, right? Where the rate's a little better, right? So 7-year. But you're gonna find that in the jumbo financing market, right? So anything above that conforming limit, and he may see more with the investors he may see, but I generally see that arms are, unless you're in the jumbo market, it's most cases are not as attractive as a 30-year fix.
I had
So-
investors that were all going for 3.5, 3.1, 5.1, and 7.1 arms years ago when they were buying out.
Yeah,
3
investor-
bucks a clip,
correct.
And they're interest only loans, but have those products still?
Yeah, they do. I mean, it's a different, we're answering 2 different questions. Investors, one piece, primary residence is a whole nother question, so.
So right now, if you look at the big 4, Citibank, Wells Fargo, Chase, they've all pulled back. So you're actually seeing their arm rates and their 30-year rate. There's not a big enough spread. Okay. We have a handful of investors, and when I say handful, like 3, okay, that are still offering a better arm rate than a jumbo 30. And you can do high balance and you can do jumbo in that product category. And we can get them in the high 6s with 1 or 2 points. Okay. Now the IO, the interest only, we offer it for our primary only. We don't have it for investment right now, but that primary is only 30 basis points higher in rate. So if you were 7 it would be 7.3, for example, for an interest only. And it is fixed for a 7-year period, and they qualify on the fully amortized on the note rate, not the fully indexed rate, which I don't want to confuse you guys.
No, I get it.
Okay,
and then that myself.
So you asked about the cross collateralization. So cross collateralization is best when the property is near free and clear, or as close to free and clear as it is, right? Because you're taking 2 properties' values and providing 1 loan at 50 or 60% loan to value for both properties. So if I have a $10 million property in Beverly Hills and an $8 million second home in Malibu, the boat, right? Malibu, that's $18 million of value. I give them an $8 million loan, and it's what, 40% loan to value. Okay. And again, we finance everything. points, closing costs, everything into that one loan.
Can you do those on investment properties?
Yes.
Just have
And
to-
far cheaper than a bridge loan, like it's.
Way much cheaper. Bridge loan, you're gonna pay 2 or 3 points, and you're gonna pay high nines, probably double digits.
So I call that
You've got a
bridge
client
lending.
free and Clear, you've got a client house free and clear.
Yes.
Wants to buy a replacement residence.
Mhm.
And if the no.
We don't wanna rent it. We don't have to use the rent. We don't need nothing.
Wants to replace it,
Yes.
and, but, nobody accepts a contingent loan.
Mhm.
So, how, is this a program for that
Thi-
scenario?
Okay, that specific scenario, you have to determine what your trailing residence is going to do. Are you going to list it? Are you gonna
It's
sell
gonna
it?
sell.
Okay,
And the idea is to sell.
we have some investors, right? Again, time and place, right? We're trying to meet the exact scenarios. We have some investors that if it's solely listed and it's free and clear, and they have 24 or whatever the required months of reserves, they'll actually do that cross collateralization as well. Like Luther Burbank used to do that. That was what they were
And
paying.
there's no
Absolutely.
prepayment penalty, because he wants to be out of the loan.
No, it's owner occupied. You can't even put a prepayment penalty on it. You can on an investment, but not on an owner occupied.
And I will say that Fannie Mae does have conventional financing, does have that also in there. There's just one extra stipulation that all contingencies have to be removed. So if you are in a conventional scenario, you can do that, listing the property, but that buyer of that property has to have removed all contingencies, and I don't have to hit them with that mortgage payment.
Right.
Well, okay.
But anyway, there's lots of options. Van Schul, Luther Burbank.
Yeah.
All
I
these.
just wanted to say one thing on your questions, that pricing comes and goes all the time, so right now there's no good arm pricing. At one point, FHA pricing was better than conventional. You just never know from one day to the next what's gonna be in and what's not. It does not hurt if you have that idea to mention it to your loan officer, say, well, what about an arm? No, not today,
So-
they'll tell you, but it doesn't hurt to ask.
Well, we didn't answer your temp buy down question, which was why wouldn't you go with a temporary buy down, or why would you, right? So I like a temporary buy down personally, so I like the benefit of being able to have the flexibility, get the reduction in the rate. Because you'll get way more with that buy down than you would with buying the rate down.
Agreed.
And then on top, so like, let's say the rate's 7.5%, right? I can get to 5.5%, which on an arm, you're not gonna get there, right? So maybe you do, but I couldn't tell you where. But then you have that ability over the next couple of years that if you were to refinance, let's say rates drop, the rates go to 6%, you're like, oh man, I don't want to miss this, right? So you refinance, and whatever isn't used in that buy down is like an escrow account, right? Is refunded back to you in a closing cost credit or a principal reduction. So it's a way for you to leverage somebody else's money. Now the seller does have to pay for it. There are some creative ways to get the seller to pay for it, even agents to cover it, which there's more details and stuff like that. But
Amazing, thank you.
One other program that we haven't mentioned, and I know Scott's quite very familiar with this, is asset depletion. So these clients that have, several $1 million in their account, they will actually, give a qualifying income based on that money. So in the non-QM space, they'll actually do it over a 60-month period. So if I had a $2 million loan, divided it by 60 months, that would be my qualifying income. And on the QM side, which is your traditional financing, depending on the investor, again, they'll do it over 120 months versus like a 3% or 4% rate of return.
Right.
So these are like the little things that get that almost qualified borrower into the loan. So we had this just last month where they wanted to go on our 7/6 arm, high sixes with a point, and they didn't qualify with just their income and their tax returns. But once we used their retirement account, we divided it by 120 months, derived an extra set of income, and that's what got them to qualify.
Right.
So again, it's kind of knowing where your niches are, knowing where that client fits, and I get the benefit because I don't have to originate, right? So I just get to hear the scenario, work the scenario,
And
okay,
he
agent,
knows all the
this,
tricks.
and it's not hard. I'm like the uncle that went to jail, and he's got to. Yeah, like I know where to get my stuff at, like don't let the soup.
Well, I get it. I love it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
So, was that amazing or what?
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
So wait, so we just have a couple things, give me 2 minutes, so Alex. Thank you, Scott, Cindy, and Bill. All right, Mr. Allen, come give your little safety thing, and then we're gonna get on to some Q&A.
Hey guys, I know this is running really long, so this is do this on 30 seconds, so next. you're gonna start seeing these little stickers, these around the office, okay? Whenever I take a look at them, this is really important, because what this is, it says, beware criminals may be targeted. Hey, guys, this is really important, listen. See these? People don't just rob people and pick them up, they don't just grab them. They are usually targeting you. You've done something to make sure that they're gonna make some kind of a hit, make money, gonna do something to you for a reason. So people are targeting you, so please be careful. I know it's really weird, you're in all sorts of places in your life where that, you don't, just looking around, you don't care. But what happens is, people are watching you. Be cautious, especially with their money and all the other. That's it, guys. And you'll see these around the office, maybe to remind you. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Okay, perfect. Make sure December 13th is on your calendar for a holiday party. Congratulations, Doug Pitts on captain. Welcome Jeffrey and Sierra, our new agent. And then congrats to our close over 2 million in September. Okay, awesome. So for those of you that came in late and don't have a ticket, right, we're voting on the best chili, right? So I think we're all good to go. I do need to cut up some serrano peppers for those of you that like spice, right? I'll get those cut up, but go and, don't get big bowlfuls yet. Everybody, do your little taste test and then you vote on it. But yeah, make sure you have a raffle ticket.
Taste all 6.
Yes.
Based off.
Yeah, so we have 6. Is that what we have? All right. Oh, and then a new agent late. Do you have your training after?
Oh, okay.
Okay.